My Karen of a coworker thinks that she can bully me and throw a fit all because she's twice my age, claiming that I cut an attitude with her even though I went out of my way to help her with her job. Because right now I'm considering going to my supervising manager to explain to them exactly what's going on. But at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 23-year-old female and I work the night shift as a CNA in a nursing home. And I don't know why the other CNA I worked with last night felt the need to target me last night as it was my first time ever working with her. She very obviously singled me out looking for a problem. Now, I am a hard worker and I have zero interest in any kind of drama. I come to work to take care of my patients, I get paid, and then I leave. Now, I may be overly bothered by this because I have anger problems that I worked hard on keeping in control due to some past issues in my life. And I know that I have to keep it together to be successful for my dream career, so I just need to vent. So this lady comes in a few minutes after me and I don't recognize her, so I go out of my way to be helpful and ask her if she's familiar with the patients that she's assigned to, and then I give her the rundown of the patients and their needs and let her know where I'll be if she needs any help. After I finish checking on the people that I'm assigned to take care of that night, I sit down and start taking notes for a class I'm taking, and she comes up and asks me for help when it comes to repositioning a patient in bed that can't move on her own. So I drop what I'm doing and I go to help her out. Now, to reposition a patient, you first use the bed remote to lift the bed up above your waist so that you don't hurt your back bending over, and then you get someone on each side of the bed to lift them up and turn them. So we get to the ladies' room and I grab the bed remote and start lifting it up, but it pauses for a second because of the shortage in the wire. So it takes me a little more than 2 seconds to reposition it to start lifting the bed just a little bit more. Well, the other CNA raises her voice at me while bobbing her head around with an attitude that the bed needs to be way higher than that. And I explained to her that I was trying to lift the bed, but it paused for a second and that I know how to do it. She then goes off on me about what I am and am not allowed to say to her, and acting so aggressive over nothing that even the patient and her roommate are looking at her confused and concerned. I didn't want to feed into her obvious attempts to make a scene, so I shrug it off and I finish helping her reposition the lady, and then I turn around and I walk out of the room and I go back to the nurse's station. Moments later, I get up to answer a call light, and when I'm walking back to the nurse's station, the other CNA is standing there, and before I make it back to my seat, she starts yelling at me about how she is 47 years old and she's a 20-year-old veteran of this career and that I better watch my mouth, and then just goes on and brings up my age several times and how she even has kids older than me, and was saying stuff like, I don't know what your problem is, but you will respect me. But the thing is, I literally did not disrespect this woman once and even went out of my way to be nice to her. The whole time I kept repeating that I'm not going to argue with her and that I'm just here to do my job and that I don't care about her age or her work experience. I told her just to stop and that I'm not arguing with her multiple times, but eventually I just walked away because I felt myself starting to shake and my heart started to race and I didn't want to go off and regret it later. Now, like I said, I have anger issues, so I get out of sight and I lock myself in a bathroom, shaking, trying to catch my breath while my heart is racing and pounding. I was nearly in tears because this woman was almost in my face about something stupid and I couldn't just blow up on her about it, and I wanted to so badly. I get myself together, and once I stop shaking, I walk out of the nurse's station to the nurse who witnessed it all, and I told her what happened in the patient's room. Meanwhile, I can hear the other CNA talking loudly to the other nurse all the way down the other hall about how she didn't even do anything to that little girl, and all I did was ask for help. And this is all despite the fact that I dropped what I was doing to help her with zero complaints. Then, for the rest of the shift, she was staring me down and gossiping with the other nurse, but then would get quiet and try to listen to my conversations with another nurse, even though it was all work related. I'm even thinking about asking the supervisor of the nursing staff to watch the cameras at the nurse's station so they can see how she jumped down my throat when I was minding my own business, but I don't want to cause more problems. I probably sound so ridiculous for getting so worked up over someone acting like a child, but it really had me struggling to hold back, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, this is the one thing I've learned about working in some kind of work environment, and it is this simple fact. You have every right to defend your good name and your own reputation against someone who is trying to slander you. And I can promise you, by letting this slide and doing nothing about it, this other coworker is only going to cause more problems in your career. She literally was looking for a fight. She saw you off to the side, and for whatever reason, she felt that she could pick a fight with you and ruin your day. And based on her attitude, I can see that she's only been in this job for 20 years. years. So with all that in mind, I think you absolutely should go to your manager and say, no, let's look at the cameras. Let's make this into a bigger problem than we need to, because this lady is going to slander your reputation. I only speak from experience in this regard, and this is just my opinion, but I've had coworkers like this who are so unhinged and unhappy with their life that they will happily try to tank your career if it somehow makes them look better or feel better. And this entitled Karen absolutely fits that bill. So in my opinion, I think you are well within your rights to step up to your manager and explain to her exactly what happened, how this lady's trying to spread a false narrative about you, and how she's saying disparaging things about you to other people. Because at the end of the day, this lady sounds like a bully, and it sounds like she's trying to harass you, and you do not deserve to put up with that for a single minute. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Would I be the jerk to accept my estranged brother back into the family fold, all against my niece's wishes? Because right now, she's saying she will never talk to us again if we ever allow him back in our lives. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my brother married a narcissistic woman, and he was what you would call the enabling parent. His wife scapegoated their oldest daughter, and he went along with it to keep the peace, and bought into his ex-wife's BS that it was the child's fault, and they were both emotionally awful towards her, literally her entire life. So I, my other sisters, and parents all knew she was bad news well before they got married, but he would hear none of it and was so enmeshed with this woman. She isolated him and the kids from all of us, so we didn't get to have a relationship with them growing up. The eldest daughter went no contact with them when she reached her 30s, and my brother tried to strong-arm her back into the family fold because his now ex-wife was making his life a living nightmare, and he just wanted her off his back. The eldest daughter, who was the scapegoat of this family, ended up leaving the family, and when they finally turned on the golden child, she woke up and she left too. And that was when my brother finally saw the light and divorced this woman. The eldest daughter found out, so me, my sisters, and our kids and her cousins on Facebook all developed a relationship with her. She's been in therapy and has come a long way, but that poor girl is still so traumatized. She even qualifies for a service dog. It was so bad. Ever since my brother has finally woken up and realized we aren't the villains his ex made us out to be, he wants to recover the family that he's lost. His daughter wants nothing to do with him ever again, and I don't blame her. I told him I understand that he was a victim of a narcissist, but he had a responsibility to protect his child, and he failed miserably. He threw his child under the bus to keep a woman in his bed, and I told him that I'm disgusted with him for that, and I'm horrified that he treated his daughter so badly for years, despite being brainwashed by his ex-wife. I told him we would be willing to reconnect with some ground rules set in place. For starters, his daughter wants nothing to do with him, so he cannot ask us to encourage reconciliation on his behalf because we will not. These are literally the consequences of his actions. And secondly, she gets first choice of family events. He can only come if she is not there. Now, I thought this was a reasonable compromise, but my niece is so upset. She's saying that if we have anything at all to do with him, she will go no contact with all of us, and that these rules aren't good enough. Now, I hate what he did to her, but he too was a victim, and he is my brother, and I don't want to have to choose, and I think I've made very reasonable compromises, but she's giving me an ultimatum. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, so in my opinion, you definitely can reach out to your brother, but there's probably going to be consequences that come along with it. Like, she absolutely was really treated horribly. She had no love in her life when she lived with her dad and her mom, and things are so bad that she literally needs a service dog just to function. So I can confidently say that she has every right to be upset with you right now. She thought she could trust you. She thought she was away from her crazy father, and she thought she was finally free of that garbage. But here you are welcoming him back into your life, even though you know of all the terrible things that happened to her. Like, in my opinion, it just doesn't seem like a good idea, and I think this is only going to cause a rift in the family. You will literally drive this lady away, and she probably will never come back. And sure, your brother's the victim of a narcissist, but guess what? He was an adult making conscious choices. This guy knew what he was doing, and he did it anyways. So in my opinion, you have got to weigh all the options here, because this is a very sketchy situation that you're trying to navigate. Am I the jerk for asking my sister-in-law to return a gift that she gave me that I blatantly did not ask for on my list? Because right now, I am seriously not sure what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 36-year-old female, and I had a birthday a few weeks ago. For context, I am fortunate enough to be doing well enough with work that I'm pretty comfortable money-wise, and I just don't really need anything. However, I had set several friends and family members that still wanted to give me gifts, so I made a small list of ideas with some items ranging from $10 to $60, thinking that the higher items would be picked up by people like my parents or my husband, who are also doing fine. Well, enter my sister-in-law. I'll be honest, we aren't that close. She is not doing very well, and she is living from paycheck to paycheck. She frequently buys loads of stuff from places like Temu because it's cheap, but not because she necessarily needs it. Inconsiderate may not be a 100% fair description of her as a gifter, because she's often in the right category. Like if one of the kids is into art, she will get them one of their art kits, but it's gonna be the cheapest one that she can possibly find, where all the paints and markers are dried out before you even open it. Lots of gifts like that, where it's the cheapest possible version of what you might have wanted, or used items when not appropriate. Now, used books are awesome, but less so as used makeup. The family has tried suggesting to her a few times that if she really wants to spend $10 on us, we would all really prefer to get one $10 item instead of 10 $1 items, as the stuff she gives often doesn't work or otherwise just becomes a burden to have to try and throw away or even recycle. Anyways, I didn't realize she had gotten a hold of my birthday wish list until a gift arrived in the mail, and it was a very cheap massager. For context, I have horrific chronic pain, and I go to a massage therapist frequently, and I had even put gift cards to my massage therapist on the list. I already have a nice massager too, by the way, so there's no need for one that doesn't seem like it would work that long. So I thanked my sister-in-law for the thought, but asked if they might be able to return it, as I already had one, and I said that she really didn't need to get me something. I said I appreciated the sentiment, but I would prefer if they kept their money for themselves. Well, my sister-in-law got very defensive, saying that she got me something from the list, and that I was a jerk for rejecting her gift. I said I already had a massager that suited my needs well, and she said that I was a snob because not everyone could afford the exact things on my list. I had not been expecting anything from her, but I had tried to provide ideas at several price points, as there are a couple of other people in the family with tight budgets who still insisted on getting something. I reiterated that I was happy to get birthday wishes from her, but she did not need to feel obligated to get me anything, and I would prefer that she use that money for herself. She then called me ungrateful and then just hung up. Now, my husband understands, but says I probably should have just accepted the gift and either tossed it quietly or given it away or something like that. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, I can kind of see both sides of this. I can understand that you're kind of sick of getting cheap stuff all the time from your sister-in-law, but also I do kind of feel like maybe this was like the wrong time to do this. Maybe she really did come from a good place where she's like, okay, I'll get you a massager or something like that. I don't think it was like a vindictive way of like giving you a gift, but also I don't think it was the most thought out gift either. It definitely felt like it was like, all right, whatever, here's a massager, go for it. But maybe also like that's all she could afford. I feel like there's a lot of nuance here that we can't quite completely understand. So I don't think you're totally the jerk, but I can say confidently that the timing of all of this is really wrong. I think this should have been done in a different way and in a different setting, especially considering that gifts were kind of expected for your birthday. And hopefully with some time, things can repair in the future, because from the sounds of it, it kind of seems like this was a sore subject that was gonna come up pretty much regardless. Am I the jerk for not wanting my sister to live with me, all because she's not willing to do the things that my current roommate is actively doing? Here's what happened. So I'm a 30-year-old male and I live with my best friend, and I pay all of our bills. Now, as an important point of context, my best friend is gay, and he was exposed by a cousin to the family while finishing college, and his parents simply stopped helping and disowned him. He went into a deep depression where he had to stop working and take a break from college because he was having such a hard time. He helped me with what he had saved, and when everything was done, he said he would leave because he couldn't help anymore, and at the time, I was already working and had a good salary. I told him to relax and that I managed the bills, and since then, we've had this arrangement for 3 years. My best friend has developed health problems that make it difficult for him to get a job. During this time, he, of his own free will, started taking care of the house and making our food, saying that it was his way of giving back for everything that I do. He even jokes that he's a stay-at-home friend, and I don't mind paying for everything. The problem is that my mother doesn't have such a good financial situation, and when my sister was accepted to college in my city, she called me with my sister telling me the news, and asked me if she could live with me, and she said that she wouldn't be able to help much with the bills. Well, I responded by saying that there is no space at home because I live with my best friend. She then asked if I could help with the bills when she lives in my city, and I replied that I couldn't do that. I already have my own responsibilities, and I could not commit to helping with that as well. She then finally realized realized that my best friend living with me is the same friend that I helped pay the bills for, and then asked me if I still support this friend, and I said yes, but he helped me with many other things. She then exploded on me, saying that I wanted to support a 27-year-old guy, but I couldn't even help my sister who needs help in college. Now, I jokingly asked if my sister would agree to take care of the house, make our food, and help me with other things in exchange for having everything paid for by me, and she replied that she was not my maid. So I responded by saying that I prefer my best friend because this 27-year-old dude is actually helpful. I hung up before I heard any more garbage, and since then, I've been bombarded with messages from them saying that my sister wouldn't have time to be my maid because she's too busy studying, and that it was unfair to ask her to do the same as someone who doesn't do anything all day. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, you are definitely not the jerk. Your family's out of line and your sister sounds obnoxious. Like if I was in your shoes, I would pick my best friend in this scenario over my sister any day. She's not gonna pay for anything in the house. She expects you to pay for all the bills and everything, and she's not gonna help out around the house at all. That sounds really annoying and I would not want to put up with that either. Also, your best friend is literally doing the best they can. For some additional context, the original poster states that their friend is getting a graduate degree and they're looking forward to a new job. So it really looks like he's getting all of his ducks in a row, and it's not like he's just lazy not doing anything all day. Because if anything, the sister would be the one who's gonna be lazy, all the while expecting you to pay for everything in her life. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would not want to try and bankroll another adult in my life. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. I think you have every right to keep your friend over your sister, and I know if I was in your shoes, I would make the same decision every single time. Am I the jerk for proving to my boyfriend that the nerds never cared about the popular kids in high school? Because right now, I really think I shattered his heart, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my boyfriend and I are both 25 years old, and we went to the same high school. My boyfriend was talking about our high school days, and he thought the high school version of me would have been thrilled to date the popular guy because I was a nerd. Now, again, we're 25 years old, and it's 2024. Now, I played along for a bit until I realized he wasn't joking. He literally thought that, but I told him that I didn't even know he existed. He was surprised and said that he was a popular kid. He played football and was in the popular crowd, and he even said that I must have been lying. I told him that the nerds never cared about the popular kids in high school because we were fiercely competing amongst ourselves for college admissions. For a backstory on our town, my boyfriend was born and raised there, but I only moved there when I was 13 along with a bunch of other high-achieving kids. That's because an engineering company opened up a branch near that town and brought in a ton of engineers and their families. So it was a sleepy town with a big high school that suddenly got a ton of competitive kids, and I mean insanely competitive. Nobody had time to think about popular kids or really anything but college admissions. I was only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night regularly, and sports like football or cheerleading, which required 5 days a week of training at school, were out of the question. And I saw the same people regularly because we were all in the same classes. So all of the drama was contained within that group of 50 to 100 students or so. And honestly, it paid off for me. I got into a top college and had no student loans. It was literally cheaper than any other state school. And I have to say that I do have a good job and I enjoy it. And in response, my boyfriend said that I'm lying. But you know what? I don't like being called a liar. So I literally reached out to all of my high school nerd friends, and wouldn't you guess it, they didn't know the popular group and the ins and outs of the dynamics like my boyfriend thought. A few people recognized some names, but like I said, we were really focused on competing with each other. He then got quiet when I proved my case. He said I humiliated him, and I proved my point and we should never mention high school ever again. Well, I talked to his sister, and she said that high school was a special experience for him, and I just ruined his memories. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk, and honestly, I think it's really unhealthy for high school to be like your peak in life. Like, I don't want to say this guy peaked in high school, but it kind of seems like it. There is so much more in life than what you did in high school, and in the grand scheme of things, it holds so much less weight than you really think it does. Like, I know for myself, I am much different than what I was in high school, and that really is a good thing. I can't imagine living my life and somehow think that my life peaked in high school. Like, that would be terrible. Now, don't get me wrong, it really is cool to have awesome achievements from high school, but if those are your only achievements, then that really is not good in my opinion. Like, what have you done after high school? You had to have done something else, right? Like having a good job or getting a degree or some kind of accomplishment. Like, something else has to have stuck out in the future, right? I can also say that if your boyfriend is upset about you proving him wrong, wrong, then it literally is his own fault. Like, if he didn't want to be proven wrong, then he shouldn't have chased down this route so heavily. Like, he straight up called her a liar for not knowing anything about him in high school. Which, by the way, I kind of relate with the original poster for calling themselves a nerd, because I know for a fact I couldn't name a single person on the football team to this day from my high school days. So no, I do not think the original poster is a jerk in the slightest. I think their boyfriend was being obnoxious for pursuing this point so heavily, and if they didn't want to get offended, then they shouldn't have gone so hard at their girlfriend. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.